Hello lovely people, I'm Debs. Welcome back to my channel, Raina Read Stuff. I'm here in the book shack. I am a day late with my weekly reading wrap up, and this time my excuse is genuine, unlike last week when it was just a fabrication. I started filming this yesterday, and midway through filming it, my eldest daughter FaceTimed me, and so I had to stop. To be fair, I had FaceTimed her and her sister and found both of them were out and together. Both of them said, "We'll call you back." And she did in the middle of my video. So I stopped my video. Then I restarted doing my video, and my second daughter FaceTimed me. So I stopped again and shelved that video. Then I went to film the third one and actually managed to complete it. I managed to complete my video. However, in the process of the other two interrupted videos, my microphone had turned itself off and the sound was horrible, and you could also hear various shouty, sweary things from other people around me, neighbours. So, this is attempt number 4. It's 5:30 in the morning. I'm hoping it's going to be quiet. We're going to go again. Okay, so first of all, I have another confession. The Read What You Own challenge, which is created by that evil mastermind, Olly. Olly put a video up the other day saying that he'd failed on day 2 or day 3 because he'd bought a book. It was a book that he'd been looking for. It was a book that he'd previously read and wanted. And everybody put lots of wonderful comments about, you know, how people were only human, etc, etc, etc. I, however, chose to put a comment. He'd given himself a 10-book penalty, so he's now got to read 110 books. I put a comment. I was only joking. There were lots of smiley faces saying he thoroughly deserved his 10-book penalty. So now is the time for me to admit that I started my Read What You Own challenge, or said I was going to start my Read What You Own challenge, on November the 1st. It officially starts on November the 5th. On November the 2nd, I bought a book, and it's entirely the fault of Alan at Alan's Reads, and it was this book here, The Lantern Network by Ted Allbeury. Alan had recommended this book so highly that I couldn't resist it, and so I've decided that I abandoned the books that I'd previously read, because on November the 1st I'd actually read 2 books, and I officially restarted my Read What You Own challenge on November the 5th, and this was the first book I read. Ted Allbeury was a best-selling thriller writer. I'd never heard of him. A spy thriller writer. Alan had never heard of him either, and Allbeury was actually, in real life, an agent for the Special Operations Executive. This book was really good. Allbeury didn't come to writing until much later in life. He was in his 50s, and he was actually really prolific. There are loads of spy thrillers that he's written, and obviously, as it says on the front, he was best-selling in that time, but seems to have fallen out of fashion now. But I could recommend certainly this book. When the Read What You Own challenge is properly finished, I will be getting some more. This was about a special operations executive in France during the Second World War, and not only was it about the problems they had avoiding the Germans, etc, etc, it was also about arguments between different factions of the French resistance. It was a really good read. So yes, definitely be reading more of those. I did say that my Read What You Own challenge was going to last until January. As I now didn't start till November the 5th, I suppose I ought to go to January the 5th before I restart. Where's my list? I have a list that I have lost. Right, next up was another one of my British crime classics. This is The Murder of My Aunt by Richard Hull. Again, never heard of Richard Hull. Phil, my husband, bought me a job lot of 12, I think. And this was included among them. This was really funny. It was excellent, as all of the British crime classics that I've read have been. This is divided into 4 parts. We have a protagonist called Edward Powell, who is an opinionated, self-indulgent, lazy, idle, we are in the 1940s, 30s. This was in fact published in 1934. Edward is orphaned. He was orphaned as a child. He's been brought up by his Aunt Mildred in a house a couple of miles out of a small town in Wales. And he is not a nice person. He has an allowance from his aunt, which he objects to because it's too small. But he refuses to work. She can't get him to work on that in the house or the garden. He's just not a very nice person. The story starts with, there's a parcel that's been delivered for Edward. It's at the post office. And Aunt Mildred decides that Edward ought to walk to the post office because he's a lazy and pick the parcel up. He doesn't want to do that. And they have a row, and he decides he's going to take his car. He gets half a mile up the road before the car runs out of petrol because Aunt Mildred's drained it. And she's watching from an upstairs window and laughing as he heads off walking into town to try and A, pick up his parcel, and B, find some petrol. The garage refuses to sell him any petrol or a petrol can because Aunt Mildred's phoned ahead and said, don't sell him any petrol. He's a lazy ass. He needs to walk to get his book. And this is how it starts. Edward decides his aunt's got to go. He can't put up with her anymore. He's going to kill her. So he tampers with her brakes and he tampers with her steering, and he designs a scenario where her car goes over the edge of the road and falls down a small ravine. But Aunt Mildred is thrown from the car and she survives. So there's 4 parts of this book, and the first 3 are Edward's attempts to kill his aunt. Now, he doesn't succeed in the first one. Obviously, as there's the 3rd one, he doesn't succeed in the 2nd one either. And then the 4th part is narrated by someone completely different. This was really good fun. Great cover. It's from a railway poster of Wales. Really good fun. Really good fun. I can't wait to read some more of my British crime classics. Right, next up, this. This I read for, as I did the Lantern Network, I read for Dr. November, which is a great event reading spy books, because this is non-fiction. This is Lonely Courage by Rick Stroud. This is about the women operatives who were flown into France, members of the Special Operations Executive, and their job was to aid the resistance. Some were wireless operators, some were more direct action. I have had a complete fascination with the women of the Special Operations Executive since I saw the film when I was in my teens, Carve Her Name with Pride, which is about Violette Szabo. And this includes Violette, but it also includes Virginia Hall, Nora Nayat Khan. It's different to the other books I've read in that they tended to either specialise in one individual, and I have read some brilliant books. This one takes all of the women who were dropped into France or made their way into France to help the resistance, and it deals with them in a chronological order during the course of the war. So you flip from one to the other. It's absolutely fascinating. The writing is great. It reads almost like a thriller, and the research is stunning. So thoroughly enjoyed that. This I've been meaning to read for a long time. The Spook and the Spirit in the Stone. It's by Jilly Paddock. Now, if that name rings a bell to you, Jilly Paddock was sat here in my book shack earlier this year with Dave Brzezinski. Dave edits Occult Detective magazine. Jilly formats Occult Detective magazine, and they came to see me. They're great friends, and we sat in the bookshop and I interviewed them before Occult Detective October. Jilly also is an author. This was, I think, published, let me check, I think it was 2017. Yeah. So you've got two stories in here. The first one, the titular story, is 100 pages long. The second one is much shorter. It's only 20 odd pages long. They both feature Jerome, who is a police officer. Now, Jilly amazingly takes several different genres and merges them beautifully. So you have science fiction, you have a bit of the occult in there, you have a detective story, and also you have a spook or spy. And the spook or spy is an agent from Earth who is telepathic, but also is quite dangerous. Anyway, the story revolves around Jerome. At the start of it, his police partner, they're in the fraud squad, his police partner has had to suddenly take early retirement due to ill health. And on top of that, his life partner has died. And so Jerome isn't in a good place. Jerome is actually a dragon man, but he has had several operations that have removed his tail, removed his scales, and he's had a second tongue added, a human tongue. Underneath his human tongue, he has a forked tongue. He is paired up, excuse me, with Detective Inspector A. Afton Lamont, who is known as, well, she's hardcore, hard-nosed, cold. She doesn't have a good reputation. She's in the murder squad, so he's transferred to the murder squad. The first case they come up against is a 9-year-old girl who is the daughter of the Terran, is the daughter of the Terran ambassador and the step-niece of the president of Earth. She's been kidnapped. There's a lot of resemblance to a previous case where a small girl was kidnapped, a ransom was demanded, and the girl was then killed. So their job is to find this girl before she's killed. There's a bit of spookiness in it. I loved the characters. It's really fast-paced as well. The second story is great and very imaginative, but I really like the first one. Read some Jilly Paddock. She's really good. Okay, so those are the 4 books I've finished this week. Those are the 4 other 4 books that have gone down on my list of Read What You Own. They amount to just over 1,000 pages, 1,023. Now we get to the group reads. First up, The World According to John Irving group read, which is a big group read. There's lots of people in this. The Cider House Rules. I have never read any John Irving. This is a complete revelation to me. We are halfway through, or roughly halfway through. I am on page 407 of 719. There's 4 chapters left in the book, so we're reading 2 chapters this week and 2 chapters next week. This is, I'm not going to discuss it properly because we're still in the process of reading it. This is a complete revelation. I like the way John Irving writes. His characters tend to be flawed but interesting, and they really grab your attention. Every so often, Irving throws in a scenario or something that really makes you sit up and notice, that is quite shocking. We have an orphan in here called Homer Wells, and we have a doctor who is, Wilbur Larch, that's his name. Wilbur Larch runs an orphanage where women can go and give birth and just abandon their child. One of those children is Homer Wells. And one of the things that is thrown into the mix is Homer Wells is, he appears to be unadoptable. There's nothing wrong with him. He's just very quiet, very withdrawn. He's not the sort of small boy that adoptive parents seem to want. So he's sent out for adoption and returned twice. Then another couple want to adopt him, and out of the blue, they're killed in front of Homer. And so he returns to the orphanage, where he almost starts to be an apprentice of Wilbur Larch. And they have an odd sort of father-son relationship. Both of them idolise the other one, but they struggle to communicate those feelings. Anyway, it's brilliant. I'm loving it. And finally, I am also halfway through Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott. This is another group read. This is also wonderful. I am absolutely loving this. There's 44 chapters in this book. So far we've read 22 and we're reading 11 chapters a week. I like the writing style very much. I'm enjoying it's historical fiction. So it's actually set in the time of Richard I and King John. We have Normans, we have Saxons, we have a few Jewish characters stuffed in there for good measure. I love the fact that it's based around where I live. There's been a big tournament that King John presided over at Ashby de la Zouche, which is just down the road. Robin Hood's turned up. Friar Tuck appears to be a drunken, poaching anchorite who is holed up in Sherwood Forest. It's great fun. The descriptions are wonderful. Yeah, loving it. So, that's where I am this week. I'm sorry I'm late with my video. I hope you've had a wonderful reading week. Let me know what you're taking part in and what you're reading. Thank you very much for popping by. It's always lovely to see you, and hopefully I shall be uploading this very soon. Bye for now.